Alright guys, welcome to the podcast of another AkaVlog featuring Sensei, me, Evenus over here,
Hi.
also known as Patrick, Hinata Master 5000.
Exactly.
Seercull over here,
Hello.
aka Big Black Knight Man, the original bullfighter.
Come on, bro.
Come on, bro. Yeah. So, okay, we're doing this because we figured that this Choose Your Legend stuff is fairly hype. There's some cool stuff happening, and we thought we'd just talk about it with you guys. Okay? So, let's get into it. We have lots of things to talk about, so it's going to be more like a podcasty listening video. You don't really have to look at our faces or anything. So if you feel like just putting in the earbuds and tuning out, that's cool. But if you want to look at our beautiful faces plus us eating, that'd be cool.
Yep.
We also have an amazing cameraman, but she doesn't want to say anything.
You should wave to the camera.
Okay.
Amazing.
Okay, so yeah, this video will be mostly about Choose Your Legends 2, what implications it has, and what it means to stay a game of heroes right now. So, let's start. First of all, let's keep it simple, nothing too meta. Some topics we'll cover, like unit art, their classes or movement types, all for heroes, the future, and of course, like should you pull, and you know how they actually are in the meta with their stats. So, guys, what do you think of the art? How would you rank them?
So I actually like Veronica because she seems a lot like her art seems to have improved a lot on her first art, which was like the one in the story way back. Her old art was like super frontal, and this one actually has some depth to it. I feel I like it a lot more.
Kind of look like a T-pose, like me, but
basically.
I mostly agree. I think Veronica's art is really good. It's detailed, it's sleek, the colors are nice, it's fitting. I think she got that aesthetic from Bruno, right?
Yeah.
When Bruno was the theme. I like it a lot. I think it's very well drawn as well. But I really like the Celica art as well. I think it's a bit controversial. Some people are saying they don't like it. She looks a bit weird, but I think since it's Hidari art, I think it's pretty fantastic. The neutral one is definitely the best. Not a big fan of the attack art, but the neutral one is really cool. And all in all, I mean, the art quality is very high in general, as is to be expected from CYL, but good stuff all around.
Yeah, the only one that struck me weird was like people voted for Shadows of Valencia Celica, and we got like Guidance Celica.
Yeah.
It's like what? We didn't vote for this. But I'm not like the biggest Celica fan, so it didn't matter to me.
Yeah.
But I could see some people might be turned off by that. But some people might be really happy about it too. So it's probably more controversial. One thing that's interesting is that Hector has had 4 different artists actually. 4 different artists, yeah. So every single Hector variant has had a different artist. That's also kind of cool.
Damn.
And they're inspired by like brother, father, husbando, and what is Bruno to Veronica?
Brother, isn't it?
Like not blood brother, maybe?
We saw no little about Bruno. I mean, I guess he's a friend, but they're not really friendly. Then again, Veronica isn't friendly with anyone except Zena, maybe.
So pretty much family.
Yeah,
pretty much family, but maybe not related by blood or something in this case. Okay.
Something family.
Yeah. Which is kind of similar to Choose Your Legends 1. One thing that I do want to point out right away, though, and I've had the flack for this, is like Choose Your Legend Celica doesn't have like a royalty kind of feel to her, unlike the other ones. So that does definitely confirm in my eyes Legendary Celica 100% on the banner. Like, and she will be in a royalty in that form, no matter what. So
I can see that for sure. If not this one, I think Celica will 100% get a legend. The only reason I think maybe this month won't have Celica is because I'm pretty sure it's going to be Earth Blessing, which would be weird for her, but they could still fit this in. But I think it's going to happen sooner or later, and she will have that aesthetic.
For sure. Okay. So what about the actual unit classes then, guys? We have like Cavalry Healer, which is really, they finally started making them after like a year. But they've all been Cavalry, I think. There hasn't been an Infantry Healer.
First PRF as well.
Yeah, first preference weapon for her. And we have Lance Armor, Green Axe Armor, and Red Infantry Sword, which is like the most bloated class in the game. But interestingly enough, they're all pretty good as their movement types, especially since like the healing one, Cav Healer, is fairly new and they're starting to add some taste to it, while green armors have been starting to become more saturated. So how do you feel about the actual movement types themselves and weapon types? Your guys' opinions.
I feel that
like were their choices on?
They kind of ruined Ephraim by trying to make him a green axe, because he just faces such rough competition, especially now that Deathblow 4 is also gonna be in the meta. He's just gonna struggle. I mean, he's obviously still gonna perform because that's just how Bolt Fighter armors are, and the fact that he can run Bolt Fighter and another beast slot is great. But for his unit type, it's just bloated. Same for Celica. Hector is in a good spot because Lance armor is arguably the most scarce one, and healers I think we can see much more. So I'm glad that they're like kind of amping up how many healers we see now, because we had like a long drought after Lynn.
Yeah, Lynn and Jenny were like the two way before we finally hit Nana and then Maribel, exactly. And then now Veronica. With anyone who's pulled from Maribel will press F to pay respects at this point, especially since Veronica will likely be in the pool.
I mean, this is something I will probably bring up a few more times in this, but I don't want to offend the fans of the character, like Ephraim, for example. But is there any reason to pull for Ephraim when Legendary Hector exists, who like straight up outclasses him in most aspects and is Legendary Hero on top of that, and is probably the better preference weapon? But apart from Ephraim, I think the niches are kind of underutilized. With Celica, you have the Red Sword infantry, which is like 50% of the game, it feels like, but at least she is special. She has like an amazing V-skill and stuff. We will get to that later, but anyway, blue armor is very underrepresented, or the units that do represent it tend to be clowns like Hardin. Hardin is...
I think we only have Hardin, Wendy, Winter Robin, and Effie. That's it.
And honestly, Elliwood.
I think,
Elwood,
Elliwood is merge locked, although I think he'd be pretty strong if he could be plus 10. Winter Robin is like a clown. I've never seen him perform because his attack is too low and his speed is high, but why do you need speed on armors?
Well, we'll get to that though. There is some use for it now, at least.
But Hector, really good, like super solid unit. I think blue armor is super cool. It's very strong class, and I like the cavalry healer as well. And
Red infantry, that's the.
It's pretty cool. Red infantry is Pepper Hands, but at least she's special enough to set herself apart from the.
We'll talk about them in specifics in a bit. The thing though is, just so you guys know, this is objective. We're not tarnishing your wife with your husbandos. Like, you can see the comments already. You guys are gonna be like, OMG, like Celica's the best unit ever, Deathblow 4, and like Hector is husbando. But remember, we're just trying to look at it in a way that doesn't, pick favorites. And to be honest, like to me, Veronica like is the most appealing to me, and I didn't think I would say that like before I saw the movement type and like the skill set. So we'll get into it, but my favorite just like that, and I didn't think it would happen. But anyways, how about the timing and like the whole BST stuff? Everyone was like saying, OMG, look at CYL1, and we had power creep with the two winners having like enhanced BST, and they didn't even give us time to prepare for this Choose Your Legends very much. It was like this, like the previous year we had a week or something before it, and they even had a commercial, marketing, like all this kind of stuff. So what do you guys think of that? Did they pull this off correctly? What's your opinion?
I feel that. Well, I feel that it's important that I don't know what it's important to them, but the lack of commercial kind of feels like it has less emphasis than the last time with the Brave Heroes. Like the characters also don't have the Brave titles this time, so I'm not sure if this is supposed to be a more regular banner.
They don't talk to you either, right?
Yeah.
It's weird. The other ones did. They're like, oh, you voted me in. Other world. They called out my name, Ike. So, what do you think? Seercull?
I think it's pretty telling that they doubled up on the movement type again, like they did last time. They did double infantry back then with Lucina and Breivik. And this time they doubled up on armors. And I think it's pretty telling of the direction they've taken. Because with legendary heroes now, there's less reason. There's less reasons for whales to pull on this banner than there was previously, but now that we have two really high scoring armors in Hector and Ephraim, I think some people might pull for them just because they are really good armors who score a lot. And leading up to this, I think, especially with the next legendary banner, the timing will be good because it will force people to whip out the wallet. Do I like the direction they take? Not really. I'm a really big, I really dislike the pin jumping IVs for armors especially, and I think we have two of them.
For those of you that don't know, like jumping in VST bins, you have 3 units on this banner that need a particular IV to score well in arena. For those of you that care, like we have Veronica, which doesn't really matter, kind of inconsequential. Okay, never mind English. Doesn't matter because you probably shouldn't use a Cav healer in your arena team. But for Hector and Ephraim, for those of you that want to like merge them up highly or use them as bonus units, you need to pull very specific IVs, and like they're not even ideal in most cases, or ones that you might want. So that's kind of stinky, and you know that it requires you to pull multiple times just to get the one you want. So, what do you think, Evenus, about the like? Do you think it's a bait? Do you think they might be preparing for something even bigger than this? Like maybe a legendary banner?
It might actually be. I have this suspicion.
Especially the timing. Like think about the timing, right?
I have this suspicion that once we're gonna hit 1 hero per blessing per stat boost for legendary heroes, there's something going to be happening with the legendary system. Some change has to happen there because we're going to hit 16 heroes, right? And we have that image that they update every single time where it's 16 heroes.
Yeah, it's going to take super long to rotate if you want to pull for one specific one. But I do think what Akariss is hinting at is right. I think next legendary banner is going to be crazy, and this is another reason to not pull. Don't pull, because there's still time on it. You should definitely check out the next legendary banner. These heroes will return. Akariss says it again and again. These are just permanent heroes, and I think you should be waiting for something bigger to happen.
Yeah, there's no actual like should you pull. So we're going to that a little bit now. There's nothing here that really demands you to pull for something. I think the most appealing skill to pull for here is probably Close Guard on Veronica and Deathblow 4 on Celica. The armors are not worth pulling. They have Bold Fighter and Special Fighter. We'll talk about that in detail later, but basically like Bold Fighter is already there. We already have that. And then we have Close Guard, which is actually really good. But then you got to think about other skills. Like Drive Speed was on Brave Lucina last year, and that was like OMG, like that's a new skill, and that's different. But then, you know, now it's like in the 4-star pool on Tail 2 and might even become a seal soon. So patience always pays off, and you shouldn't spend hundreds of orbs just for that skill, even if it might be, you know, really good.
Yeah, especially Close Guard is the kind of skill that might really end up being a seal. I feel like it has that seal factor, like it's not super impactful, but it's like a nice utility, like the drives.
Yeah, like seal skills are most common actually on seals, so there's a good chance you might see it as a seal very soon. It's just not worth pulling for it.
That's a reasonable assumption, I feel.
Yeah.
That's a reasonable assumption, I feel.
Get your free summon, like get the free pull is what I would say, and then just wait for them to show up on legendary banners, which they will, and maybe 3-star focus banners, even Hero Fest. Like if you look at it, the history on it, we have Brave Lynn on 7 banners, I believe, after the debut of CYL. 7. It's almost one every 2 months has been a legendary hero of CYL hero on something other than their debut. So if you wait like 2 months, maybe we can start seeing these again. Legendary banners, maybe in 3-4 months we start seeing these as well. For all we know, in 2 months already we see one. Like it could happen. And
there are people who have been waiting like months for these heroes, and they are really big fans of the character. They probably already summoned all their orbs as soon as the banner dropped.
Yeah, those of you on the fence, that's what we're kind of talking about.
But if you haven't summoned yet, just be aware that saving really does pay off. If they return on a 3-unit banner, I think on Celica you can get like 500 orbs saved even on a 3-unit banner compared to a 4-unit one.
Yeah.
Because it's like 40 orbs per, if you want to
like
plus
40
10
orbs,
it,
40 orbs per
So if you want
unit.
to plus 10, that's like 400 orbs on average that you save.
And you can get value out of legendary banners with the increased rate and getting like other good units with good fodder and such.
For sure.
Or pulling for legendary hero merges, which gives you a good advantage, you know, for scoring. But yeah, let's actually talk in detail about the units themselves, one by one. So we start with the first one shown in the video, which was Veronica, Cav Keeler. And she comes with a lot of new stuff. First of all, first healer in the game to have a preference staff, not including Loki, because you can't really use her. But she comes with this new staff, which is has Dazzle on it right away, which is the preferred option, I'd say, over Wrathful. It's a good thing that she has Dazzle. I think that would prefer that, especially considering the second effect, which is Peshkats, which buffs your whole team around herself as well, and debuffs the whole enemy team. And this is huge because she not only hits resistance, but she hits from range, and she has movement that's way better than so.
She has the range of a Reinhardt, so that makes her inherently more scary.
And people were like crying about Sakai's Blessing being really hard to deal with, but now Dazzling is on her staff.
Yeah.
She debuffs your whole
Literally
team.
worse.
Buffs herself. So this is even worse than that. And most units have low res. So
Dazzling is just an unfair skill by nature, and this is not debatable. It's literally unfair because it counters. There's no counterplay to Dazzling except player facing the unit. With Lin, at least you could put a Dragon there or a Tone, and Sakai's Blessing wouldn't work.
even a bow.
Yeah, about to. And now you have literally nothing that can counterattack her. I think she's really scary. That effect is super strong as well.
And her stat spread isn't like one-shottable if you think about it, especially with a super boon in HP and a super bane in attack, which you would never want anyway.
40 HP with a super boon.
40 HP.
That's a lot.
You hit a unit with 40 HP, and you take 4 defense from them. Like let's say it's a melee unit, 4 defense from them, and they lower their attack by 4. You have an 8 range difference there. So 21 defense goes up to 29 defense with 40 HP. She's already 69 bulk. And her speed is insanely good, it's 36. So it's hard to double her unless you're using a bold fighter unit or really fast units in general. Double Lion Celica. But this is the better, like, Brave one now.
Yeah, I agree. I don't feel like the benefit of being an archer, having effectivity against flyers is good enough to like propel Lin above Veronica. So I think Veronica has a spot of the best columnist horse ranged unit now.
There is definitely like consider like Brave Bow, which you can hit twice with, but I don't think like this is the thing. Veronica has an enemy face. You can give her close counter with that Peshkats effect. It's like she's actually good on both faces.
And to this day, one thing hasn't changed. Average defense is still way higher than average resistance. Characters tend to have not a lot of resistance, and she hits resistance. So there's a lot of good things about Veronica for sure. Did we already talk about the bomb?
No, let's talk about the bomb. Does a 300 SP skill, 300 SP bomb, and that means that healers can now move up 2 more points.
Yes, it's 732 at max.
Yeah, a plus 10 healer with max skills can now move up 2 points, and that's actually really good because the bomb itself isn't bad. It's not like a dead skill. It's 6 attack at 6 speed with a 1 charge, which is super easy to get. You'd pretty much have it every turn.
You basically don't have to run tactics anymore.
Yeah, you wouldn't have to run tactics, attack, or speed tactics. You have full control over the buff, so if you're worried about a panic or something like that, you could totally, play in your control of not worrying about tactics or that kind of stuff. And on the enemy team, this is also deadly because healers love to heal. So if you see it with Swin Firebomb, you're like, okay, now how do I just double their whole team? Really powerful unit. Really good for fodder. She has Close Guard, Wrathful Staff, Swin Firebomb. Honestly, like if you just don't know what to get, this is the unit to get.
Yeah.
If you're on the fence.
She's definitely something you won't regret picking.
Yep. Even if you don't pick her for fodder purposes or anything, she will be amazing PvE character, like hard GHP clears. If you don't have a healer up to speed, she basically comes complete and she's really good. Her bomb is good, her weapon is good, her stats are good. She's super solid.
Super thumbs up from me. I have like very little negative to say. I feel like she will be, if people want your variety meta, you may not want your variety meta after seeing this. That's for sure. So, the next unit that showed up on the Choose Your Legends was actually Ephraim, I think. He was second place as a green armor. Now, this isn't going to be all positive rainbows, so we'll talk about the good first. Bold weapon, bold fighter weapon. They gave him that.
Is that good?
I would say that's good. I mean, like, good as a character design choice. It's different. It's not just giving him, like, I don't know.
At least it's conditional.
Yeah.
It's Bolt Fighter 2, right? 50%, I think?
No, it's just requiring you to
He needs to be
have
buffed by
armor
Armor March.
march.
Or a buff.
yeah, right.
Or a
right,
buff.
right.
Any
Buff
buff.
or Armor
Visible
March,
buff.
right.
Own attack tactic.
Yeah,
own
super
attack.
easy to fulfill.
He comes with Armor March, so you pretty much always should have it
Even
up.
on arena defense, like he will get rallied all the time, so he pretty much always has this ready.
But the rallies They run out at the start of the turn, so in player phase. Well, actually, they're
No,
just
I mean,
It's
If
bold
you
fighter,
use
has to be
enemy,
player phase,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, he has that. That's a good design choice, I'd say. The problem, like, comes as soon as you like consider his movement type, which we talked about earlier, and green armor, and that's like not so good because there's male Grima, there's legendary Hector. He doesn't provide any like bonuses, stat bonuses or such, and he doesn't have like distant counter on his weapon, so you have to give him like distant counter in the A if you want to give him an enemy phase that's reliable. Or you give him like steady breast, then he's weak to range damage. So, yeah, I mean, he also has this new skill, but we'll talk about that later. But as a unit, with his skill set and such, like, what do you think?
First thing I have to say is I would be amazed if in the next 6 months or even 9 months we get a green armored unit that can compete with legendary Hector, who's like #1 in the niche. He's so good. Like usability wise, he's fine. I would say he's definitely on the stronger side, but on the scoring side, he's amazing. He makes everyone else on the team stronger. He has pan armor, so super good in player control. And Ephraim, he just doesn't give legendary Hector competition, I think. He has a better dual phase aspect, of course, because he can use a different V-skill since he has the guaranteed follow-up in the weapon. And I don't think legendary Hector with Bolt Fighter is so good in the first place. Green armors. Hector is definitely one of the favorites for IS, it feels like, and all his iterations have been definitely very strong, and I don't think Ephraim can give much competition in that niche. I still think he has some interesting builds though. I think his Res Super Boon is interesting. He might be good for really bulky builds with really high defense and high resistance. Maybe you can even, like some crazy people who got Arden to 50 speed can maybe get Ephraim to 50 speed and then abuse wind sweep plus his weapon, which should work. He should be able to double if he naturally outspeeds the opponent with wind sweep. But yeah, I think he's a character that's nice and a little gimmicky, but he won't be able to compete with the giant that is legendary Hector.
Just like his original form, actually. Like the Sigmund refined, you give him wind sweep, and he can also double wind sweep. Keeps the same niche.
They retained that going in mentality for.
Going in.
But just like Veronica, actually, he has a super boon. He's a 174 BST. You have to pull multiple copies and hope for like a plus res super boon, which might not be the most ideal combat, and then minus speed super bane, which you may want to actually dump on him because you could get doubled on both phases.
Like what's even worse than bin jumping IVs is bad bin jumping IVs. Just sucks.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate. And he's really saturated pool. Fodder, he has that new skill, so we can talk about that a little bit. And I want to like clear up all misconceptions with this as much as I can. Special fighter, not as good as most people say it is. Good skill, not as good, specifically for armors. Like, you got to consider how they function and how like you fight against them or how you fight with them to know why it's a good skill or a bad skill. So most people look at it and they're like, "OMG, this replaces like it's like better, better than Bolt Fighter right away because it has the acceleration charge and it denies them." But
I feel the skill isn't actually bad, but we just need to put it into context that Bolt Fighter is so ridiculously strong that other armor B slots that they release just can't keep up with it. It was already knowledge beforehand that Vengeful most of the time is going to be subpar in comparison to Bolt Fighter. And it's kind of the same deal for Special Fighter now, where most armors they can just with ease make use of Bolt Fighter. Auto doubles are so strong because you just ignore the speed stat.
So then that leaves the characters that actually make good use of it, which would be the units that can double without relying on Bolt Fighter. And that pretty much comes down to actually a really small pool of armors that are currently in the game. The speedy armors.
Winter Robin.
We can pretty much list them by hand. It's like Winter Robin, Legendary, not Legendary, LA Lynn, Level Bounds Lynn, Halloween Henry, Drog, and Zelgius.
Amelia.
Amelia too. Amelia. So it's like 6 of them.
I mean, you can see where they were going. They were like, yeah, we have the follow-up effect in the weapon, so we can give them the skill. Maybe it's a beta test for something different. It's an interesting skill, but it really does sound better on paper than it actually is. I mean, you think like, oh, steady breath guard in one skill must be broken. It's fine, but you have to consider the competition it has in the B slot. It's a nice skill. I think it will have its implications. I think it will have some really cool gimmicky builds, like a super wall with extremely high defense and resistance will definitely appreciate the guard effect. over the classic Vengeful Fighter, but we had mixed phase armors for a long time and they work. I mean, we have the Star Zelgius with Steady Breath Bolt Fighter QR, and it just works. You don't need
and Worry Fighter would actually compete with it too. Like a Bolt Fighter armor hitting you versus you using Special Fighter, it charges the same exact thing as using Worry Fighter, right? Just denying it. A double if you have the speed for it. So.
And in Arena, in the new Arena, you probably want Worry Fighter anyway, which is way cheaper to get. Because supportive armors like Worry Fighter more, because they don't want to kill targets. Your bonus unit should kill targets.
So basically, like, he's not really the greatest unit for fodder. He just has that Special Fighter skill, but unless you have those units in your core, it's not going to be like ideal.
Yeah.
So let's move on. Next we got Hector. I think Seercull likes this one, so I'll leave it to him.
I think what's really cool about Hector is that he's the first blue armor that's like super strong, the first 175 BST. Because previously we had Harden, and we all know the Harden memes. He's kind of a clown, and it's not just a meme because he's actually a clown. In most situations, he's too balanced, he's too mixed, he's too ambitious, has some points in speed, has some points in res. He ends up gimping his attack. His HP is low. I've seen him get killed by Zelgius because his HP sucks and he doesn't have a refine because we had Spreadibus. Hector on the other end, he has the stats to back it up, he even has a Death Super Boon. Blue, on paper, is the best defensive color to have because most of the units in the game are red, even though at higher scores there's a lot of greens, but I think Hector can definitely hold his own. I think it's a really cool, he's a really cool character. He's like a different take on Hector, he's armor again, unsurprisingly, but the blue color gives him something he can definitely shine with.
Yeah, blue armors are definitely on the lower end, although red armies as well, but there it's just almost impossible to beat Zelgius, basically. What I like for Hector is that his weapon is playing in QR 5-in-1, which is a combination that's kind of basic, but it's not something we've seen before, so it's definitely going to cause you to have new combinations of skills that you can pull off. For example, he can run Bolt Fighter Ignis, which will cause him to like player phase with Ignis, since he gets 2 charges on his hit, enemy hits back, Ignis fires.
I mean, he's the second
similar
unit,
like LA Hector though, kind of a little bit same, but
he's the second unit in the game that can pull off Omni Breaker, right? Or does he? Oh no, actually, he with Worry, and then he has QR in his weapon, and then he has QR.
Yeah, he can.
Yeah. You can pull that up.
He can do Omni Breaker as well, and he has a slaying effect on top, so he might actually be the better Omni Breaker. So Hector is now power creep in that regard as well. He doesn't even have his old niche anymore. But yeah, he's a different color.
At least he's green, so yeah.
Yeah. I think Hector is really cool. Even Res Wave. I mean, I guess it's okay. The wave skills are good. I don't think Res is super useful, but it has its uses.
Yeah, it's like he's blue, right? So it's actually not so important to have high res because the high hitting res units are like Rima, Burr. Yeah, there is some Young Tiki, but I don't think he'd have trouble with that anyways, even with the res super boon Vayne. So I don't think he's suffering. One thing that we got to mention though is the 350 power creep distant counter. 350 SP. So this doesn't bring him up a bin, but it does have implications because if they do add more skills that are 300 SP in different slots,
it sets a precedent, basically.
Yeah.
The very first 300.
It means that he could score higher than all the armors if a new skill was released that was 300 SP in every other slot. So he could potentially be the highest scoring unit in the game should that happen. So if you have the foresight for it, then you go for it. But I mean, like generally
speaking, he could virtually reach the 185 BST bin because he gets one bin from just the 300 skills or 300 PF, and then he would get another one with 350 and another 300.
And even Res Wave implies that now, since we have even and odd, it means that we should probably get even and odd for all skills. It seems a little lazy to me, in my opinion. It's like we're running out of creativity.
I think
it's like give 8 skills.
even though they look like kind of a reprint of the same skill, I do think there's a lot of technical implications with even and odd.
Oh, for
especially
sure.
because the way you approach turns, I personally find even to be better.
Same.
Yeah.
Because you can't engage on the
Yeah,
first fight,
yeah.
so you have to like stall a turn to get the odd one.
I found odd to be a bit awkward, more than I thought at first, because like you have to basically stall a turn before you can enter combat.
Yeah, but
Unless
even
you're
is
in-
ready to go usually from the smaller maps.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's pretty much Hector. Best blue armor I'd say in the game now, for sure.
Definitely better than Harden, better than Effie, and most stuff. Not all stuff, but most.
Yeah, but pretty much he's the best blue armor. Unfortunately, not the same for Ephraim. But if he's your husbando, well, you're probably not listening to us to tell you.
I mean, all we need is a red armor now, and he's gonna occupy the best slot. For
I honestly thought he'd be red armor, but
Yeah,
I'm not.
me too.
It's fine that he's blue.
At least he's not green.
Here's a hot take. It could be that they add a skill refinery option because of the new Deathblow 4 we got. It's possible that if skills were available to older characters, Legendary Hector could actually hit that new SB bin. If he got access
If it was
to
a B.
Ostian counter.
Yeah, that too. Refining the skill, distant counter into Oswin counter.
Yeah, because he has Ostian pulse.
Oswin counter. Ostian counter, yeah.
They could work.
Okay, so I think that sums them up. Did we? Oh, we didn't cover Celica. Right, we didn't cover Celica. So Celica's probably the longest one to really consider because she actually has more implications than just as a unit. So before we talk into Celica as a unit, she actually brings Deathblow 4, which is a totally new thing to the game, which is an inheritable 300 SP skill that is not distant counter or close counter. So that's huge.
Yep.
Because, well, first of all, memes aside, Harden with distant counter, or Grima with double distant counter, Fjorm with double distant counter, Ike. Like you had to use those skills which weren't optimal to score highest, but now you don't. You can actually use this new Deathblow skill. So this is by far, I'd say, the most whale bait of the whole banner. Like all of the guys that are want optimizing with good builds, but score as much as they can, pull for this skill.
Indeed.
And it is actually pretty good for a lot of characters. Especially not just the ones that max score, but some range units that didn't want to use close counter.
Yep.
Which is a lot of them.
A lot of them, yeah.
Almost all of them, actually.
So anyone that had a preference weapon that was like low defense was like, I don't want close counter. And we have a lot of them, like that were recently released too.
Fly Nino Ishtar.
Yeah, Flying Nino, Ishtar, Legendary Lucina. I mean, she's not bad with close counter, but her weapon synergized even well.
And one of the
better with
old
Deathblow.
ones who's probably the best, I think, in my opinion, is
Lilina?
Micaiah.
Yeah,
Micaiah
Micaiah.
with +8 weapon that is multiplied by another 1.5 to armors. Like she's gonna kill green armors.
It's like
for sure.
it's like 12 extra damage.
Yeah,
just
it's
right
insane.
There.
Like she's actually gonna kill. I think with odd attack wave, she straight up one shots male greener. I think it's like about 90. Like Bless, she probably doesn't one shot, but with some support, she's gonna one shot all the green armors. It's pretty insane.
So I'm really happy about that. Just give us more options and pixel art systems.
Yeah, we've been waiting for this.
The
I think
options is great.
a lot of us expected 300 SP skills sooner or later, and they had to do something big with this. I thought the 2 armors were something big, but they had the additional Deathblow 4.
No,
really
big
cool.
surprise.
Yeah,
Very
really
pleasant.
cool implications. I mean, the border, it kind of looks like, it looks a bit bad, but
Very good game design decision to
but yeah,
get away
that's
from
a,
that.
that's a good decision. They have a lot of options now. They can take so many parts. They can give some old skills relevance. Like honestly, Darting Blow 4 sounds kind of funny. Like 8 speed on initiation is gonna swing some stuff. Like even slow units can double with +8 speed.
And the best meme, Reinhardt now scores max with this new Deathblow skill, and with Heavy Blade and a Legendary Hector on the team. Luna, Heavy Blade, Deathblow 4, ouch.
Insert
Chill
rank
res.
fail here.
Yeah.
What I'm personally curious about is how are they gonna handle, like, I'm assuming that they're gonna do this for more skills in the future, obviously, because that is at least the implication. It would be weird if they just did it once.
Yeah.
If they upgrade other 200 SP skills that were locked to 5 stars, let's take for example a boost skill, wind boost or something, or fire boost. Inheriting fire boost 4 would be awkward. You would be forced to basically
Yeah, that's
sacrifice a 5-star unique character and then sacrifice the follow-up character for the 4th rank.
That is actually true. That's a good point. And this is why I think they probably won't do it for these skills. Or it would surprise me, because like it's just not good design to do this. Like.
Yeah, it wouldn't be good as
Like you get a new skill and you straight up can't inherit it. That's like a PF skill.
They might
although it's
follow
not
it up
supposed
with
to
like
be.
more skills can be inherited per
Yeah.
unit. Like maybe 5 skills can be inherited by unit. That would also make people
would
pretty
be super
happy.
Cool.
Yeah, make
that
people
would
happy.
Be a really good change. Although I think for the time being we can expect like just normal super common skills like darting blows I already mentioned. Maybe renewal, although that would power creep Abyss a lot. Vantage or desperation, I don't know what they would do with that. Like 90% HP, probably not. But I think that there's some cool stuff they can do with that.
I agree.
Agreed. Yep. So let's talk about Celica herself.
Yeah.
Because that was amazing, but let's talk about Celica. So, she comes with a new weapon, which is, I want to call it like a reverse infantry rush. So if you know from Noir and the seasonal banner, if you have a unit around you, or in Noir's case it was like if you have a friendly unit around them, they get extra charge on their attacks. Well, Celica wants a friend around her, and then she gets extra charge on her attacks. So this is a little bit awkward to use with when you look at the rest of her kit, because she has Gale Force, and she has Double Lion, which is double on initiation, and she has Deathblade. Now, to truly utilize the skill, you need to put another unit forward if you're playing aggressively, and you might waste that unit's turn by doing it to set up your extra special charges for Gale Forces or for whatever special you choose to use. So I feel that's a little bit not so great, but the good news is you can still change out her weapon and still get maximum score. So, and she already has insane speed, so that extra 3 speed is like whatever. You're going from 39 to like 42 without any merges. It's like you don't really need to worry about it. And refining in most cases gives you that. So, what do you guys think? Like as a general opinion?
Yeah, I think what you said is the awkwardness definitely comes through for reverse rush. Like, she doesn't even have slaying on it, right? So
No.
she doubles, 2 charge, kills the enemy most likely because the damage is pretty sick.
Gale Force, this doesn't work.
Yep.
You need
Just
like an
doesn't
infantry
draw.
pulse or a quick impulse on the team, and then she's shining right away. But if
Yep.
you don't have that, it's like an awkward. You're going to rely on the team, to make her work.
And what you were hinting at already, swapping out her weapon is gonna make her a better unit in most cases. I think she has some really cool tools she could play with. I'm just gonna match slaying first because that would actually allow her to proc it, I think. Right?
Yeah, slaying. But you would need heavy blade, I think.
Because it doesn't have the reverse. Double lines.
Wir sind noch am Essen.
Ach so, nee, sorry. Sie ist da.
Können wir hier die Plätze haben?
Nein, sorry.
Was?
Wir sind hier noch
Wir sind
beschäftigt.
gleich fertig.
Okay, so last thing is to really consider is the double line skill itself, and it is like same thing as Alms and his weapon. She gets a double, but this is actually kind of awkward on her because you would need to use like a healing special or a healer on the team to actually utilize it more than once. It's not just doubling all the time.
Yeah.
And that's kind
It's
of
a
bad.
one-time thing.
Yeah, she doesn't have falchion for renewal, so you'd use like a healing special, which is kind of like missed opportunity. And you need healers. You need team setup to be shining, like in most cases.
No built-in renewal, and double line is on the B slot out of all spots. And B is the only one that had a self heal, apart from Sol, and that procs in combat, and she takes the damage after combat. So she needs support, or otherwise double line is only gonna proc once.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so overall, like, Celica's a pretty good unit. I think she has such a stat spread and such skills that do actually set her apart and scores well with changing her weapon, which is something like Ira couldn't do. Like, she wouldn't score optimally changing her weapon, which would be good. But in this case, you could actually change her weapon, it would be pretty good. Celica's definitely, like, maybe if we were to put them, since we talked about all of them, I think, like, Veronica's probably the strongest of these.
Yes.
With like Hector and Celica being second or third, and then Ephraim is unfortunately like the biggest loser here. I mean, he's still really good. Don't get us wrong, but
He's good for experimenting too, because both fighting
Yeah,
the
yeah.
weapon allows you for a lot of build creativity.
I think if you were like to give you guys like a good concept, if you're a new player, Celica is going to be your best choice, I would say. If you're aiming to be competitive, Gale Force is really good for HM farming. There's plenty of stuff to find on how to do that, but basically HM farming, Celica's king. She comes with Gale Force. You can inherit it to somebody else too. She has a 300 SP special. Inherit both Deathblow and Gale Force, so you have like a really strong start. Awkwards are harder. I mean, armors are harder to use as a starting player. You kind of need more than one to really get going, and you can't really depend on that without a gacha system to kind of like get you Drogs or Wendy's or Sheep